Hi guys, it's me again, and I'm back with more of how I drew this thing that I'm drawing. So this next 20 minutes represents about 1 hour approximately of drawing, or as some of you might prefer to call it, tracing, or as some people like to call it, cheating. I can't really draw freehand, but what am I doing here? Okay, now this part of the drawing process is what I like to call grid drawing. And as you can see, what I'm doing is I'm basically reproducing these lines. And you'll see where I'm going with this shortly. I could have just did a straight trace, but when you're doing a picture that's overly complicated, just straight out tracing can be long, tedious, arduous, all those words combined. So just to save myself a little bit of time, I create a grid like so, and nearly there. And now I can just basically trace around this picture. Oh, actually, what I'm doing here is I'm just getting rid of the excess grid that I don't need. Of course, I'm not really doing it this quickly. I've sped up the film, as mentioned before. Excuse me while I sip my Earl Grey. So first I'm going to trace, obviously, the outline of all the main features of the picture. The grid kind of ensures that I don't miss anything major, basically. And it actually does kind of create a cool effect later on down the track when I fill in the color. You can actually kind of still see the grid, even when the lines are made invisible. Creates a kind of multiple square effect within the picture itself. You'll see what I'm talking about later on when I filled in the color, which won't be in this video. Unfortunately, this video is just going to be me drawing and drawing and drawing, more drawing. Okay. So at the moment I'm doing it at, this is at 50% view. And as I've mentioned before, I'm using Adobe Animate. I think a better program to use would be Photoshop, but I use Adobe Animate for all my videos, for all my animated music tutorials. So it's just what I'm used to using. But I think if this was something you wanted to have a crack at yourself, I'd probably use Adobe Photoshop or something like that. I'm not sure if Paintbrush will let you do layers. I haven't used Paintbrush in a long time. Whatever drawing software suits you, as long as you can do layers and as long as you can zoom into the picture to get all the extra details. So here I am drawing around the wing. Okay, now I'm going to take it up to 100% of the picture's actual size. And this will allow me to trace around some of the finer details. Unfortunately, as I mentioned in the last the last video, this version of me, or this picture of me rather, is a little bit on the blurry side, but because the character is quite small, it won't really matter when we zoom out. That's good tea. Now, just going to spend some time on this wing for a while. I want to basically make sure I get all the details, but as you can see by the way the cursor is moving, I don't really care if it's 100% accurate. Like, most of those are wonky, and I've learned over time that the lines actually don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be exactly on the thing you're trying to draw or around it, or, you know, they don't have to be straight. They don't have to be perfectly curved. They don't have to be whatever the drawing equivalent is of verbatim. They just have to get the gist of what you're trying to draw. And this actually allows you to create something that in the end will look more like an actual painting, because I'm not trying to recreate a photographic image. I'm trying to create a portrait of what's going on here. So just go around the arms, and you might be interested to know that I'm not actually using a drawing tablet for this. I am actually just using my finger on the pad, on the touchpad on my MacBook. I actually do have a light tablet with a pen, but to be honest, I used to use that all the time, and then one day I didn't have it, so I thought, stuff it, I'll just use my finger. And I discovered that I could do drawing just as well with my finger on the Mac pad. And so, honestly, I have not really used my light pen very much. Well, I call it a light pen, but my drawing tablet, I haven't really used it much. When I do use it, it's a Wacom drawing tablet, and they are good. And look, let's face it, they are a lot easier than how I'm doing it, but I'm rather lazy. 9 times out of 10, I find myself with my computer and can't be bothered getting all my accessories out, as I don't really have my own workspace. I'm usually doing this either in the lounge while watching TV or on my bed drinking Earl Grey like I am now. So I'm like, hey, what the heck, just use my finger. So as this pen moves around the page, that's literally just my finger hovering around the MacBook cursor pad, or whatever it's called. I don't really know the technical name for these things. I'm still at 100%. I haven't zoomed in. I want to draw around all the shaded areas on these skulls. Excuse me. That was some nasty nasal noises that you might have just heard, as it is winter here in New Zealand, and I have hay fever most of the time. I'm not going to have time to edit any of this. Now I'm going to try and get that crack. I'm not sure how successful I'm going to be. Some of these skulls look terribly scary. I'm actually just starting to think maybe I need to have a bit more respect for the dead. These were actually people, like real people. I don't even know what the skulls were sitting on a shelf for. As I've mentioned before, these skulls came from a picture that I found on Unsplash, which is a stock photo site. If you're looking for free photos to use in your projects, you can go to Unsplash, not Unsplash, Unsplash, and search to your heart's content. Just remember to credit the photographer that you're borrowing the photo from. I actually have some photos up there too. I've put some links in the description below so that you can check out my photos and these photos. I'm just going to keep drawing and drawing and drawing around this eye socket, around this nose cavity area. What's quite interesting is how different all these skulls actually look from each other, with the exception of the one on the right, which is actually the same skull that's been split and put together, as you will remember from my last video, because the picture didn't contain the whole one. Okay, I'm going to take it into 200% now. So the first two, like at 50% and 100%, I was able to get a rough outline of what I was trying to draw. Now that I've taken into 200%, I'm going to get even more detail. So before I was really trying to get the shading, the dark patches, etc. Now I'm going to try and get all the sharp edges, or as many sharp edges as I can at this percentage of zooming in. Now, let's say I finished tracing around this at 200%. I could actually then fill the color in and end up with a, reasonably okay picture. But it will look kind of cartoony. My point being is that the more you zoom in when you're doing this tracing method, the more realistic or rather the more detailed your picture is going to look. So I'm going to get some of these dark patches here. Definitely want to get these teeth at some point. But yep, once again, I'm not being 100% accurate. I'm not really caring if I'm really following the actual lines or the actual shades. I'm just getting a hint or the gist of what I'm trying to do or what I'm trying to draw. And while I'm thinking of what to say next, I'm going to take another sip of my tea. Not many people watched the last video in this series, but I don't really care. I'm actually enjoying this project. When I'm actually doing this, it's usually at night when my wife and I are watching TV. We tend to watch innocuous shows, comedies, what have you. And I just like to have something to do. In the past, I used that time to practice the guitar, but I'm having a little break from the guitar while I don't know what's getting me into drawing at the moment. I mean, as you know, I've always done drawing for my, I've always had some sort of channel art going on my page, on my channel, but when I discovered Unsplash, I stopped doing so much drawing because, naturally it meant that I didn't have to spend so much time doing the channel art, and I could pump out a video once a week. I think it was, I got an email a few weeks ago, months ago now. It was from this girl called Sue Cooper, I think, and she actually does have a YouTube channel. I'll put a link to it in the in the description below. And she had found a picture that I'd posted on Unsplash, and it was of a duckling. It was of a little duckling that actually used to come to my front door in the house that I used to live in with its mum and with all its brothers and sisters. And I would feed them birdseed. And this duckling was pretty cool. And I took this great picture, and she found the picture, and she did a really awesome watercolor and posted it on Instagram. She reached out to me and said, "Hey, I've done this painting of your bird." And when I saw it, I was, really, I just thought, wow, that is cool. She honestly made it look excellent. And it kind of conjured in me the desire to, or maybe revived in me, the desire to get back into drawing. Unlike her, though, I am useless at freestyling or freehand stuff. I can't just sit down and draw what I want, so I do it all digitally. It's quite interesting how similar the process is. Like, if you actually go to a channel, you'll see some time-lapse videos where she has started out, I guess, with some pencil and has drawn, I guess, in a way, just like I'm doing, a kind of stencil that she can fill with paint. But once she adds the paint, she is really in her element, which is something that I hope to achieve with this picture. I actually went out today and I went to the $2 shop or whatever it's called, and I purchased a canvas and I purchased a box of acrylic paints. I'm going to start with acrylic because I wanted to do oils, but I don't really want to get the headache that comes with smelling turpentine all day. So got myself a little packet of paintbrushes. And I have decided that rather than printing this picture onto a canvas and then painting over the print, I'm experimenting with, I've already tested to see if this actually works with another picture that I had. But once I've finished this, I'm going to print the stencilated version. And by stencilated, I mean the version with all the lines but also with the filled color. And I'm going to print that onto an A3 sheet of paper. Then I'm going to stick it to the canvas on the back. Excuse me. And then I'm going to shine a light through the back of the canvas, and hopefully, if my calculations are correct, I will be able to then paint on the canvas what is being, I guess, projected through the canvas. Now that's my theory. Hopefully it would work. But for some reason I just feel very driven to put something on canvas. And decided to start with this very strange, bizarre, weird picture of me as a butterfly standing on the skulls of my fallen, vanquished enemies, I guess. Not that these people were my enemies. I don't know who these people were. But hopefully this picture will contribute to their memory. Actually, this is the bit where I can tell I was getting bored while tracing, because I just start drawing shapes within shapes. And like, as you can see, that triangle, that weird thing there. I got bored with just doing all the details. I thought, stuff it, I'm just going to randomly do squiggles here and there. And as you'll see, as this picture goes on, it does get quite repetitive. We've got about 3 minutes to go, which isn't too bad. So we're still at 200%. So I guess in the next video, you're going to see me zooming into 400%. And then I think I go up to, pretty sure I go up to about 1,000 or possibly more. I don't go up to 2,000% until I do the fill in the color. And I mean, as you can see at this percentage of zooming in, you know, you can't see the cracks between my fingers. You can't see the serration on the sword. But as mentioned before, if I did fill the color in at this point, I'd still have a pretty cool picture, but it would just not look very realistic. Just gonna draw around this wing a bit more. So yeah, hopefully, if you've come to this series and you're like, what's going on? Just know that the end game of this is that I'm going to hopefully complete my first painting. Now, I don't actually have a camera to film myself do the painting. Just backtrack. This will ultimately be a time lapse as well, where I'll condense these videos, these narrations into like a video that, like the whole lot, the whole series, which will be a lot, unfortunately, because I've already spent well over 40 hours on this picture. And this particular video now represents 1 hour. So yeah, there's a few coming. But I'll make it a time lapse. And I don't actually have a camera to film that time lapse. So if you're really interested in seeing how this goes and how it ultimately turns into my first actual real life painting that I want to record myself doing, please click on the link below to my Buy Me a Coffee link, and feel free to contribute $1, $2, whatever you want, because I'd love to get the camera so that I can actually paint myself when record myself while I actually am doing the painting, because I think that will be really, really sweet. So I'm going to zoom out, show you what this looks like. So there's my stencil. I'm going to save it, and so that's what we're up to so far. And until next time, just guessing, 17 seconds to go, and there's the rolly thingy. Till next time, stay tuned.